Hello and welcome to Dremel Live UK. I'm Chris.
I'm Danny, and today on the Q&A we have Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie and I'll be answering Q&A questions. If you have any during the live stream, put them in the chat and we'll be answering them as we go.
So today we are going to be introducing the new Blueprint by Dremel series of products.
Yes, it's a bit of a departure from our regular Dremel series of products to make life a little bit easier for those who may not be so confident when it comes to using power tools.
So the last Dremel Live we had a look at a little bit of the history of Dremel and had a good look at some of their rotary tools, which is primarily what you know Dremel for. And to be honest, they make an outstanding range of tools. With this new range of products, these Blueprint products by Dremel, we wanted to do some things a little bit differently, didn't we?
Yes.
And this is the official, well, I say official, I think it's fair enough to say this is probably not the official launch, but this is going to be the first time we're really talking about these tools here in the UK. Yeah. So hopefully we've got quite a few people in the chat. What do you reckon, Katie? Who have we got? We've got some people already, maybe?
Yeah, we've got a couple of people. Joseph King is popping up quite a bit. So yeah, keep popping your questions down below as we go through.
Okay, right. So as we can imagine, it's a live stream, so we will be waiting for a few people to clock off work nonetheless. But we'll do a little introduction into the reason why we're bringing out this new range of tools. As Danny pointed out there, these tools are not necessarily for the same kind of Dremel users we've had in the past, which have ranged from quite seasoned professionals using our rotary tools for, say, automotive repair in some cases, very classic car repairs and things like that. And also people that maybe find them or consider themselves to be, quite avid and already quite experienced DIYers.
Yeah, and likewise, the Blueprint range exists to cover both of those things, really. I mean, they can be used quite happily by people who are already avid users of the Dremel range of products, but they're designed to be a little bit easier to understand for people who don't or aren't as confident.
So these are designed for people that, say, for example, maybe you are a renter or you are a homeowner and you like to enjoy the freedom of doing more projects at home, while saving money, but also making sure you don't take up too much space with these products. We know that there are a lot of people that out there that have a very wide range of DIY machines and they're really excited by doing lots of DIY. However, these tools are designed for people that perhaps are, as you say, are starting out maybe, so they don't want a lot of tools, or they don't have a lot of space and they want to build up their experience before they start getting into maybe some more adventurous DIY projects. But let's make it clear, these machines are more than capable in doing a lot of those advanced projects out there, but without looking too intimidating for those who aren't familiar with tools.
No, that's it, and all very capable as well.
Now, there are going to be 3 different types of products that we're going to show today. We're going to be showing our new multi-drill. We'll also be showing our new Blueprint compact saw. And the thing that I'm particularly excited to show off is going to be our new portable saw station.
Yes.
In conjunction with that, we've also got a new storage system that we're rolling out in the UK as of, I believe, today. Is it today, Katie? Just double check. Are they launching these now?
No, they're August 11th.
August 11th, thank you, yes.
As well.
So this is an exceptionally good live stream because, you're going to get a sneak peek. So they're going to be some storage systems as well by Dremel that we'll show later on.
Usually it's tricky to get excited over a storage system, but in actual fact, really good idea, good compact setup really for the box system.
Now, the first product that we want to have a look at is actually a product that I don't know about you, Danny, I got a good little sneaky peek of this product when it was first being developed, probably a few months ago, and I was very excited to see this come to the UK. From a form factor, I think it's really nice, but functionally, I really like what it's got to offer. So this is going to be the Dremel Blueprint, and here I've got it here. This is the multi-drill. Now, before we get into it too much, I love the ergonomics of this machine.
It's actually quite nice to have a handle protection on it as well, built in. I have been situations where if you slip with a drill or slip with a screwdriver, your hand's going to come in contact with a piece of work that you're actually drilling into. With something over the front of the handle offers you a little bit more protection.
Now we call this like a multi-drill, partly because, as we'll show in a minute, there's lots of different things you can do with this tool. It's not just a drill. No. Okay, a lot of it would be derived due to the accessory set, but there's a few features on the machine itself that make this multifunctional, which is something really exciting and something that we've not had in the Dremel range at all. If I talk about some of the basics, maybe I should say, obviously, Danny's pointed out, it's got a really nice handle, it's got a really nice short head length, and we would describe that as being really useful, especially in a lot of DIY jobs where you haven't got a lot of space.
If it's flat pack furniture, for instance, if you're building quite compact kitchen cabinets or something like that, yeah, then this is really easy to understand, really easy to set up, and obviously giving you the best results that you can get from a machine of its kind.
Yeah, weight-wise, it's not even a kilo. It's about 85 kilograms. That's 8 kilos. 0.85 kilograms. Otherwise, you're going to be getting a proper workout.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's under a kilo, which is great for, again, for people that are working overhead, for example, or they're working in difficult spaces. You don't want to have a really big, heavy machine. Right? You want a nice, compact, short head length machine, nice and light, yeah, so you can get your job done without having to worry about getting tired halfway through the job. You'll see here that this is running on the Dremel 12-volt battery, so a nice compact lithium-ion battery pack, so you've got plenty of runtime and plenty of power to do all the jobs. I'd argue that in most cases you won't need more than a single battery charge to do whatever DIY project or craft project that you're doing before you need to recharge that.
No, very efficient machine running off the battery, so you're going to get the maximum amount of runtime from it, yeah.
That's right, so the battery simply slides in the back and then locks in, and now the tool is ready to go. When it comes to the actual product itself, you'll always receive a little 12-volt battery charger.
Yep.
You'll get a little accessory set, we'll show you that in a minute. And there's a few little features on the tool itself that we want to show as well. But before we do that, we want to talk about some other features on the machine.
That battery charger is an hour charger for this battery, so yeah, an hour fully charged.
But as I said, it will last at least the DIY project. Pop the battery on charge, 'cause it's lithium ion, so it will charge nice and quick.
Yep.
Maybe have a little cuppa, maybe stop for lunch.
Time for a cup of tea and some lunch, yeah.
That's right, exactly. Plan whatever. So you've got plenty of time to plan your next DIY project if you do need to put it on charge. But as it's lithium ion, you can pop that on charge, even leave it overnight. It's not a problem. All the chargers and batteries are super smart, so you don't have to worry about overcharging batteries nowadays.
Exactly.
It does it all for you. Right, so let's have a look at some of the features on the multi-drill. Remember, we call it a 3-in-1 multi-drill. The thing I really like about this tool is the variable speed trigger. Now, sometimes you might be used to some more basic machines out there that just simply have a switch that switches the machine on and you're up to the maximum speed.
Or you'll have a 2-speed switch on it and you'll get a slow or a fast function. But this one gives you full control over the screwdriver bit or drill bit, whichever you're using.
Yeah, so you've got a little bit of slack. I'll maybe use my other hand so you can see a little bit of slack, and then the trigger activates and you have a nice little slow actuation there. You might hear it on the microphones, you might not. And as I pull the trigger progressively, then you get more speed, more RPM. And we'll use that terminology, rotations per minute, that's speed. So you can see slow. So hopefully that picked up on the mics. If not, you can reassure that obviously it is got a variable speed trigger. So it goes from 0, obviously, to a maximum rotation of 800. And that's more than enough for all the types of applications you'll be using for this tool, which will range from, say, screw driving. So that might be assembly work. Maybe you've got some flat pack furniture that you want to assemble. But you also have the ability, depending on which accessory you put in the machine, to do some drilling as well.
Yeah. Remember that motor's brushless as well, so minimum, if any, maintenance required on that as well.
Again, it's one of those things, maybe it's difficult for you to hear through the microphones, through to your whatever device you're watching it on your laptop, but the machine is really got a nice tone.
Yeah.
It's not aggressive sounding, it's nice and quiet. And it's very smooth as well when you're working it. So it's one of those tools. Again, these tools are designed so if you're not necessarily the most experienced or not the most comfortable around power tools, you'll feel right at home with these. You don't have to worry about that at all. It's a nice, comfortable tool to use. When it comes to the little switches on the side here, so maybe we'll cut to a little close-up shot, you'll see you've got these little tabs left and right. And you can see it's got a nice little arrow to help tell you what direction you're going to be rotating in, which way you're drilling or screw driving. So if you pop it in like that, now you can see now that's going to be in reverse, and on the other side, pop it through this way, and now the machine is in forward.
Yeah.
Okay, on the top of the wheel here, see we've got these nice little icons.
I like this one especially. For most machines you'll find just numbers, but this actually gives you an indication of almost the depth of screw that you're actually driving, to let you know that the higher the number, the further you're going to drive that screw into a piece of timber. Yeah,
so again, we designed the Dremel 3-in-1 multi-tool to make it very clear. So these simple icons here with longer screws, which is technically correct. And what these are designed to do is tell you how much torque that the machine is increasing. Turning force, that's right, yeah. So you want more power to drive a longer screw or a thicker screw. Yeah, you can just adjust this here. This also applies if, say, for example, maybe you're wanting to put screws without drilling a pilot hole, so without drilling a hole first, and maybe you want to be driving into a harder wood, for example. You might need a little bit more force, even if you're using a smaller screw. So you'd want more turning force, so you can use a higher setting.
Yeah.
If I keep scrolling the wheel, you'll see, again, very nice and clear. If you're drilling, then you've got this little drill icon.
Yep.
That means the machine's now working at maximum power, which is what you want if you're drilling into all kinds of materials.
Plenty of power supplied by that motor as well.
That's right. So this is ideal if you're drilling into, say, some wood. Maybe you're drilling through drywall.
Putting up a shelf or anything into brick, considering that the accessories that you get with it, which we will cover shortly.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of really great functionality on this tool. Just looking from the externals. Now, as I pulled the trigger, hopefully you can see on the front there, got a really nice wide LED there.
It's a big spread on that as well, so it gives you a maximum amount of visibility.
So normally, sometimes you'll see some power tools that just have a small LED diode. Here we've got a nice wide array, so it helps spread that light out. So it really helps throw a lot of illumination into whatever you're working
Diffused over a large area, yes, very good.
Very nice. On the side here, we've got a nice nifty battery indicator, so you can see exactly how much charge you've got in your 12-volt lithium-ion battery. So you won't be surprised suddenly if there's running out of power. You'll get a nice clear indication at all times, always visible as well on the side there. So when you're working, you can always see what your charge status is.
Yeah, quite happily run that down. If it gets even to the last third of the illumination, you get a little flashing light then to tell you that you need to change the battery or you need to charge it.
Another feature I really like, I really like this feature, is the tool holder. Now we call this a 1/4 inch internal hex collet. This is designed for your, well, I say 1/4 inch accessories.
Yes.
So maybe your screwdriver bits, or as you can see here, the multi-construction bit that we actually supply in the packaging as well to help you do drilling in multi-material. So this can do soft tile, you can do brick, you could do like metal, soft metals, wood, plastics, anything. And you can see here, you don't have to do anything other than push the bit in, and now that's in and seated. It's a little bit of play, but it's locked in.
Don't be confused by the fact that it looks like a masonry drill bit. It's not actually a masonry drill bit, it's a multi-material drill bit. So it will do masonry, but it'll also do steel quite happily. And that's due to the actual material that the tooth at the end of the drill bit's made from. So that's made of a carbide, which is quite an exotic material when it comes to hardness. So that allows you to drill through multiple materials.
Right. Now I left the battery in just to do that demonstration, but don't worry, because I'm a professional. But let's take the bit out. I'll take the battery off again to show the safest way to remove accessories, because if you were to accidentally press the trigger, the last thing you want to do is potentially, maybe cut yourself on maybe a sharper drill bit. Not one of these are relatively blunt, but it's always best to take the battery out of any power tool before you make changes to the accessories. Simply pull the collar back here. Now it releases the mechanism, and then you see the accessory comes out, no effort at all. Okay.
That means that even if you're using screwdriver bits, you can very rapidly change them when going from one type of fastening to the other. So again, if we go back to flat pack furniture, this really is a quick machine to be using.
Yeah, let me show you some of the other accessories you get in the packaging just behind me here. So what we also supply in conjunction with this little drill bit is you come with a nice little array of screwdriver bits as well. So you've got your typical sizes and your typical types of screw head fittings. Yeah. So you see, as an example, you've got things like Torx, you've got your slotted, and I think you've got your Phillips and your Posies as well. So, and we've kept it nice and easy by clearly marking exactly what you're getting on the bottom. So no confusion. We know plenty of people out there that maybe they'll be using a Phillips head screwdriver bit but for their Posies and things like that, but we've made it nice and clear on the bottom there.
I think there's some hex keys in there, or Allen keys as they're most commonly known.
That's right, yes.
There's a couple of those in there as well.
Just like before. I'll take the battery off again. Simply place it in. Make sure you line up the hex with the edges, pops in, give it a little tug, make sure it's still in there, and there you go. Your screwdriver accessory is now locked in, ready for you to do screwdriving, either assembly or disassembly.
Yeah.
I'll pop that out.
If you need a longer screwdriver bit of any type, standard 1/4 inch fitment, so you can get them pretty much anywhere.
Okay, right, so that's kind of the basics, and hopefully we've given that enough time for people to join the chat. We have some extra really cool features that this product has.
Yes,
now, I don't know what should we start with. Should we start off with
I'd go with that, yes.
level?
Yep.
Okay, so now let's have a look at the bottom here. You see there's this little blue section here. Let's cut to the close-up, and you'll see there's a little warning sticker on the back, and that kind of gives away what kind of little accessory we've got in here. Simply slides out. I'll pop it this way. I've clipped my fingernails too much.
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, it simply slides out, and you see now you've got this little, what should we call it, contraption. This is a little laser level that we've put in there for you. It's got a spirit level here, or yeah, a removable laser or laser level. Now this is USB-C charged. Let me find the USB-C charging port here. So you wonder, why does a spirit level need a USB-C charger, and why does it have a sticker on it that warns you of lasers? Well, as you can imagine, it has laser diode on the side there, which means it also projects a small little laser. Now this is something very hard to show on a live stream, but hopefully...
Would you like my wall?
Let's get your wall, but
got the wall.
let me see here.
There you go. Here's one I made earlier.
Yes, let's do it on the wall. So you can see how we would typically use it. I'll switch it off for a second, because remember this is a class 2 laser, so we don't want to be shining in anyone's eyes, particularly yours or your pet's eyes. And you can simply place it on the wall, and you can use the spirit bubbles to try and make sure that you are level.
Yep.
And then you'd use the laser then to track the line. So hopefully you can see, obviously we're on quite a bright bit of drywall, but you should hopefully see this little line here. I'll switch it off so you can see the difference. That's it off. That's it off. There you go. It's probably quite faint, but I think you can see it on the camera there. Nice little line. So once you've got that spirit level nice and level, then you can make your markings here to make sure that.
So if you're putting up a shelf, for instance, then you can mark the line level on the wall, and then obviously you fit your shelf to that line, and then guaranteed level shelf, hopefully.
Now on the back of the product, you see you've got these little. Let's go to the close up here, and you see you've got these little squares here, little sections here. You might be asking, what are these for? Okay, just make sure that's focusing. There we go. Okay, so what we've got is little spaces here for what we call we call it putty, wall putty or adhesive putty, or we've got a little packet here. We've got laser leveling mounting putty. So I'm just going to take it out of the package and show you what you're getting. You're getting little bits, as we quite correctly describe it, as like a little putty, kind of like semi-sticky material. Now the good thing about this stuff is it's not harmful, or it's potentially a lot less harmful to the walls than using anything like tape.
Yeah, so if you're using it on wallpaper or even a painted surface or a fine painted surface, fitting and removing this isn't going to cause any damage to the material.
That's right. So you simply detach these, place them into these little spaces here, and then you'll be able to literally stick it to the wall. Once you're level, stick it to the wall, and then you can mark off from the laser.
Yep.
So plenty of opportunity there to make sure that you're not going to be mounting things slightly skew-whiff.
Well, if you've placed this off to one side for where you're actually going to want a shelf, for instance, then you can leave it running whilst you're actually fitting the shelves to ensure that things haven't moved around a little bit during the process.
Okay, right. So we talked a little bit about that removable laser level. Now the thing that's really exciting for this one is the integrated stud finder. So just grab that little bit of wall again, Danny.
Yep. We'll put this down flat so you can see the operation perfectly. If I put it like that.
Now this is ideal, for example, if you're wanting there's two things. I mean, in this case, you're probably wanting to find the wooden stud in your wall, as opposed to often when you're trying to drill into something, you normally want to avoid it. But this is really good if you want to mount something that might be particularly heavy, and maybe perhaps you're not working in strong or your old drywall that might not be as strong as it used to be, and you want to mount it to the stud. So, or you're wanting to mount something particularly heavy that requires you to use the wooden studs as something to support the weight of whatever you're putting on.
Yeah, flat screen TV is usually a good one for that.
Now let me pass it over to you, Dan.
Yep.
Now the operation of this, again, is pretty straightforward.
It is, yes. If I put that slightly round that way so the close-up camera can see it. So for instance, I will place the machine on the wall. Imagine this is up vertical on the wall, and you can see the little orange light there flashing. Saying pause, so that's calibrating to the wall.
It's now gone green.
Now gone green with an arrow, which means you can move it backwards and forwards. So if I move that across the wall, it should indicate where the stud is behind it.
Look at that, nice and quick.
Red arrow, did I go past?
Yep, nope, you saw it. Come back, please. You can see that arrow now has gone red, okay, indicating where that stud starts and finishes.
Yeah, so you can see that. There you go.
There you go. So for those who are hard to see, okay, as he moves away, then it will go green here. There you go. And that means that's fine. That means keep moving it until you find what you're looking for.
There you go.
Yeah, nice.
So it's detecting that there's
So let's do that one more time. Let's stay in this close up. Let's bring it off and then say reset it just so that calibration process, because this is an important thing to do.
So pop it down, and then you've got that pause button almost that comes up.
Now you can move it.
Now it tells you to move it. So then you move that across. There you go. That's the start of it. That's the end. There you go.
So when you're doing your marking, mark from the point of this arrow here. You don't want to mark it from any other part of the sensor. You want to mark it from where the arrow is, because as you can see in that demonstration, it clearly shows you where the stud begins and where it ends. Now, be aware, this actual stud finder needs to be placed on the wall.
Yep.
That seems like obvious, but it's obviously very important to point that out. There's a little button that needs to be activated, isn't there, Dan? That starts the calibration process.
That's just here on the back. So if I press that, you can hear the operation of that. So that button detects the fact that you've actually dropped it onto the wall, and that's what starts the process of the calibration. And then, there you go. I've got to move it back for it to detect it this time. Oops. Now you've got to maintain the pressure on the wall. There's a good one.
Good.
There you go.
Yeah. So nice and slow. Don't be too quick about it. You don't want to make any mistakes, but let the tool do its work.
Yep.
Finding the stud and then making sure it's I'd always do maybe 2 passes, maybe 3 passes, or repeat the process just to make they're doubly sure. But as you saw in that demonstration, nice and quick, really easy to find that stud without any real hassle.
Bear in mind that this operates at a depth of 15.8 millimetre, which is fine for any drywall out there. Obviously, if you're talking about plaster that's been attached to or administered to a brick wall or something like that, then it's going to be different. But on drywall, 15 is plenty. You'll find most of it out there is either 10 or 12 mil.
That's right, yeah.
So
obviously,
plenty to detect through.
Yeah. Obviously, the results may vary depending on how your house is constructed, but generally speaking, if you've just got normal drywall with stud behind it, this product or this integrated stud finder will find it not a problem. Okay, before we move on away from the stud finder, it's also important to point out, if you just flip it over again, Dan, just a nice little touch here, we've added these nice little soft felt parts. So just like the putty that we used for the removable laser level, we don't want to be damaging your wallpaper or the surface of your walls. This makes it nice and soft so you're not scraping the wall as you're scanning along.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't need a lot of force, but again, we've really thought about that. We don't want to be ruining your house when you just want to do a little bit of quick DIY. So we've thought of that as well. We've even put a nice little felt bit on the button there as well. So we really thought about making sure that you're not going to damage your wall when using it.
That's it.
Right, well.
We also have on the side here a little screwdriver bit or
Tool holder, yeah.
drill bit tool holder here as well.
Both sides.
And another one on the other side. So.
Yeah, so you can put your regular screwdriver bit set or your drill bit on the side there, so you can easily find that without having to dig around in the boxes for your accessory kit. So again, we thought of almost everything. Okay, so for my particular side, again, I just want to point out before we do a little demonstration of the screw driving, when it comes to the ergonomics, it's a really nice, comfortable machine. When you're screw driving, we'll do a little demonstration in a minute. It is always important to make sure that you're kind of applying pressure to the back of the machine, putting pressure on that screw to help you drive it into the material. Otherwise, you'll get something that we describe as cam out, which is where essentially the head of the screwdriver bit and the head of the screw aren't perfectly aligned, and you're just chewing up and damaging the head of the screw. Probably the head of the screw more than the accessory.
Worst part about that is then you can't drive the screw in anymore, but it makes it very difficult to bring the screw out and replace the screw for something else.
So for that reason, that's why I think that the angle of the tool is really nice and comfortable. Okay, and it also really helps get the webbing here, in the middle of your thumb and your first finger, right behind the tool there, really giving you a good solid grip.
Yeah, you can get your hand up quite close to the actual head of the tool, which means you're not placing pressure away from where you actually hand.
That's right, yeah. And again, as I've described, it's only 85 grams. Pause and answer before we do a little demonstration of the Dremel multi-drill.
Yeah, so we do have one question from Erin. Is the laser level able to be charged? So yes, as Dan and Chris demonstrated, you can charge the laser level, and something good to know is that you can use any standard USB-C cable. So if you've got any at home and if you lose the one it comes with, you know you've got backups to use. I don't believe there are any more questions at the moment, but if you do have any burning questions, do put them in the chat as we go through.
Okay, so we're going to do a quick little drilling demonstration. Screw driving. I mean, drilling, we could do some drilling as well if you'd like, let us know. When it comes to screw driving, I've just set a couple Posi 2s here. You get the Posi 2 accessory out, so that's nice and easy. Again, I'm going to pop it in. I think I can be trusted not to put the battery on. I'll keep my fingers well away from the trigger. A nice little feature here as well.
Got trigger lock.
Yeah, trigger lock. So if you put the forward and reverse in the middle, then you're nice and safe. You don't have to worry about accidentally activating the machine, whether that's in your hand or maybe if you put it away in a box, for example, and you don't want to drain the battery if it accidentally gets activated. You don't want that. So, trigger lock.
Butter fingers.
Butter fingers. Pop it in. Simple as that. Now, what I want to demonstrate here is the torque selector on the machine here. So you've got the adjustment wheel here, again, with the different lengths of screws and the different numbers. As you go up in number, you're getting more power, more driving force, more torque, turning force. and you're able to drive longer screws into different materials. So here we've got a little bit of, I guess it's a bit of pine, normal kind of stuff that you'll be working with. And put it on mode 9. I'm going to try and drive this screw down now and see what result we get. Okay. Next time. Okay. You may have heard the machine make that buzzing sound. That's the clutch kicking in, disengaging the drive, and essentially no longer driving the screw. Okay. You can see here that's a little bit proud. Okay. So I think, you know what? I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Let's move it to the next setting. And obviously there are multiple settings in between the numbers here. But I'm going to move to the next one that's got an icon, so 13. Let's see what result we get here. This is what we call like calibration. So you are dialing it in as you do the job.
Yeah, not just for the length of the screw, but for the material as well.
Okay. Unsurprisingly, still a little bit flush. So let's turn it up again. Let's go up to 17. Once you've done this the first time, then you know that for future reference, that's what you'd need to do. That's pretty much, I'm pretty happy with that. But if I wanted to, I'll turn it up one more time to the highest setting, and that might even countersink it. Very nice.
Yep.
Now, what I could be doing if I wanted to is I could just put it onto the drill mode. That's giving you maximum power, but you do lose a little bit of control, especially if you're doing things that are maybe not like this. You might be working in flat pack material where you've already got pre-drilled, and you will not need anywhere near the amount of power that I've just shown you on this tool.
Yeah, you're talking very low settings for that.
So if I dial for example, if I just take this out, okay, and I'm going to put it onto, say, let's try 17. No, let's go 13, a little lower, because I've already pre-drilled it. Now that I've already driven the screw in. Okay. And you could use that, making sure you don't over tighten when you're putting together items of flat pack, for example.
Last thing with flat pack is tearing all the threads out of the wood or the material out of the wood, because then these screws not going to hold at all.
That's right. Yeah. So when you're using the Dremel multi-drill, what you can do is you can start low and dial up the settings until you get to a satisfactory result. And then you know for future, for this particular project that you're working with, if you're using all the same material and the same fixings, the screws, for example, then you can use that setting for pretty much the whole job.
Yeah. Remember, it is about the material as well as the screws and the length of the screws, the diameter of the screws. So if you're doing a job with multiple fixings all of the same size, then make a note of it. You never know when you're going to need it again in that particular application.
Right, okay, well, I think that's a nice introduction to the Dremel 3-in-1 multi-drill. What we could do is we could talk about some things you might be using this for. Okay, so again, we've made a description there, flat pack furniture, absolutely a good #1 example. Perhaps you're doing shelving, and that's obviously one of the reasons why we really think that the level really comes into its own if you're doing putting out shelves.
Putting anything on the wall, to be fair.
Yeah.
TVs as well. Obviously, you're not going to want to stare at that with it a bit wonky all the time, are you?
Yeah, TVs, and if you're putting up TVs, then you can imagine if you've got, say, gallery walls or lots of pictures with picture frames, obviously you don't want them all higgledy-piggledy. You want to make sure that you've got them all nicely ordered, however you've got your room planned out there. So this tool makes that really easy, and you don't have to worry about having to have lots of different tools and having to find all those different bits of tools around the house. You've got all that you need, with the exception of obviously the screws and whatever you're building. You've got everything all in one package, so you don't have to go finding it. Love it. Love it to pieces. Okay, so maybe we could, what time is it? 5:30, right, okay. We've kind of covered most of the topics, but we've got a few questions that we often get asked about tools like this, so we can cover those very quickly. And one of the things we pointed out already is how do you make sure you attach the drill bit correctly? That's nice and easy, to be honest.
I don't think we could have made it any simpler than we have.
Yeah, if you've just joined the live stream, it's so easy. It's actually easier than many professional tools out there, because you don't even need to pull the tool holder open to put the bit in. You simply align it, pop it in, and now it's in. To make sure it's in correctly, just make sure, give it a little tug, make sure that's locking in. To remove it, simply pull the collar back, and the accessory comes out nice and easy. What are the numbers on the top? What do they mean? We've kind of covered it, but let's cover it for anyone who's just joined the live stream.
Well, the torque settings, basically, the turning force of the machine. So these allow you to calibrate the clutch system within the machine to get the best possible seating of a fixing at any one time. So the longer the screw, the higher the number. The thicker the screw, the higher the number. Small, delicate screws, the lower the number.
That's right, yes.
But we have graphical representations on there to show you how it works and make it really easy to understand.
And don't forget, remember, you have that variable speed trigger giving you control at any time. So don't feel like the tool has to run away. You don't want to be necessarily driving the screw too quickly or drilling quickly, yeah, sure. If you're driving a screw and you feel like you're going out of control, just ease off on the trigger and it slows the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you know if you're in forward and reverse? Okay, let's cut to the close-up. Just as a reminder, you've got your really simple indication here. If this part of the button is out, then you are in on this side. That makes sense, doesn't it? So there's your forward, and if I push that in, now you are in reverse. So if you're taking things apart, taking screws out, you want it in this mode. Otherwise, push it from the other side. This switch comes out, and now you are in forward.
Yep.
Nice and easy.
And in between the two, you've got that neutral as well. So
trigger lock.
Trigger lock.
Nice for a little bit of safety.
Yeah.
Last little reminder, if it comes to batteries, okay, this runs on the 12-volt Dremel lithium-ion battery. However, we have some cross-compatibility. So I've got some batteries here on the side. So these are also fully compatible with the Bosch Professional lithium-ion 12-volt batteries. As an example, you can see they're very similar in size. Similar, identical. Okay, and I can simply pop the Bosch one in. So if you do happen to have some Bosch Professional power tools, you can see here.
Works perfectly.
Perfectly. All right. In addition, you might be asking a question. What happens if you happen to have the double stack Professional battery? So let's test these.
Yep. There you go.
If anything,
the advantage is you can stand it up as well now.
So, I mean, if you really need a lot of screw driving drilling, then you can opt for either a 4 amp or a 6 amp hour double layer. We call them a double layer Professional 12-volt battery.
The 6 amp hour one, for instance, gives you 3 times the run time that the 2 amp that you get with the machine.
I mean, I guess if you're going out into the wilderness, into the woods, maybe for a couple of weeks, you grab one of these. But otherwise,
a lot of shelves.
A lot of shelves if you need to be building somewhere. Otherwise, the one you get with it, which is a 3 amp hour.
That was a 3.
That's a 3, yeah, on the standard Dremel. That's plenty of runtime. Plenty.
I think is it a 2 that you get with the kit though?
I'll double check that in a minute, but yes.
I think it's a 2. That could be a 3 that we've had from one of our other kits.
Well, let's check that for you very quickly. Yes, you're right. Yes, you are right. Yes, it's a 2 amp hour you get, but you can see that you can go all the way up to a 3 amp hour, even within the Dremel system. But if you really want to go higher than that, you can go for bigger Bosch Professional ones.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so we probably go on to the next product. So I think we've done a really good job of covering the multi-drill. I don't think we've got any questions, Katie. Is that fair? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
If there are any more, don't forget pop them in the chat, and we'll come to them when we do our next little questions thing.
Okay, right. So I'm going to retire the multi-drill. And then we're going to look at another product. We've got the Dremel portable saw, which is on your side, Dan.
It is, yes. Ooh. It's popping stuff behind me, so I fall over. Right, so here we have the Dremel portable saw, 12 volt, same as the machine we were looking at before, same battery platform that we were looking at before, and you also have the cross compatibility with the higher capacity batteries as well here. 85mm cutting blade on this, single-handed mini circular saw.
Yeah, okay. Gives you a maximum depth of cut of just over 25mm. It's 25.4mm. So ideal for your single sheet material. So whether that's single sheet of ply, or maybe you've got some OSB or chipboard, or maybe you're using it to cut drywall. With the blade that we've got on this particular one, it's a multi-material blade as well. So this is great for cutting all kinds of different things.
Architrave, for instance, around a door or something like that. Maybe it's got damage and you want to replace it. Then something like this, you can cut, well, multiple angles. We'll come to that a bit later.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah, multiple angles, plenty of depth for that application as well.
Now, I'll pop off the battery so I can safely show you some of the features on the tool. Actually, no, I'll pop it back on for a second because I want to show you the safety. Obviously, you've got your trigger here, but it's locked out. So here, where your thumb is, again, on both sides. So if you're left or right-handed, it's easy to find the safety. Simply push that down and pull the trigger. It's got a nice fast brake there to make sure that the blade comes to a stop nice and safely as quickly as possible.
Brushless motor as well.
Yeah,
so we're looking at cutting-edge technology when it comes to motors. Yeah, and minimum amount of maintenance. Right.
Just gonna. You've got a maximum RPM there, just like I was checking what it was by looking at it. Yeah, I was looking at, just double checking. So you've got a maximum RPM of 5,000 RPM. So that's very fast, which means it's really good in working in material. You don't want to have a slow blade because it will slow you down. You've got a nice fast blade. And so that nice fast cutting speed, working with that multi-material blade to work in all kinds of materials nicely, quickly, without getting bogged down. On the top of the machine, up here, you'll see that we have a battery indicator. So as soon as you press the trigger, when you're cutting, you'll see that there'll be, I'll put it again, that you've got 3 little blue icons there, little squares telling you how much battery capacity you've got. As you use up the battery, you'll slowly extinguish these little lights, showing you when you're nearly empty. This little button on the top is a nice little feature too. This is for the tool laser. So if I pop it on the table and press the button, in front here you should see, again, we've got quite bright studio lights, but you should see, hopefully, their little red light. And in normal light, or in front of me here, but harder for you to see it on camera, is a really nice, strong red light there. What do you reckon? Do you reckon the overhead camera is going to play ball with us today? Will this help us? Let's have a look. Overhead, there we go.
Oh, there you can see the red light.
Nice, good look there, very clear. That's exactly what I'm seeing as well, really nice, strong light. So if you've marked a bit of material that you're wanting to cut, you can use that line to help guide you as you do your cuts.
Yeah, that's perfectly in line with the blade as well. So,
okay, cool. Right, let's cut back to the wide, and I want to show a few more features. I think I can pop the battery off for a little safety. So pop the laser off. Okay, take the battery out, and let's have a closer look at some of the other features. When it comes to the guard on the bottom here, you've got a little plastic safety guard there to help prevent you accidentally damaging yourself,
or the blade,
or the surface that you're working on, or maybe your workbench with the sharp teeth, because they are quite sharp. This can be moved out of the way for doing things like inspecting or removing the blade.
Yes.
Yeah, for convenience. But typically speaking, this will automatically push out of the way as you're cutting through the material. It's sprung here.
It's designed to keep your fingers out of the way of the blade at all times.
But for whatever reason, if you do need to access it, we put a little lever on the outside of the guard so you can open it like that.
Maybe for a little bit of cleaning, but most likely it's going to be down for replacing the blade.
Now, on the back of this, we've got a little wing nut, a little plastic wing nut that you can loosen. Okay, and that allows you to adjust your depth of cut. Now, we always recommend setting this up for the thickness of the material you're cutting. It is very tempting to leave the machine like this in its maximum depth of cut, so you're always doing your maximum 25.4 millimeters. However, there are advantages in setting the correct height, isn't there, Dan?
Very much so. Actually, you will get more cuts if you set the depth of the cut to the material. Ideally, you want to have one tooth exposed on the far side of the cut. So you want the most amount of teeth in the cut at any one time. This will allow you to cut faster and far more efficiently.
Yeah. So here's a good case study on why you want to have this movable blade guard. Because here I want to do a quick test. I want to just go to the overhead camera if you can, please, Ollie. Okay, so you see here, I'm holding the blade guard open. Thanks, Dan. And I can adjust the foot plate here. So as Dan described, you only want to have maybe...
Hang on, if I get that size there, it's all fingers and thumbs at the moment.
Yeah, easy to do in person, hard to do on camera. And you can see I can just adjust that until I get a whole tooth through.
There we go. Can we get a fifth hand?
That's locked in now. So now I've set this machine, now I've set the Dremel up for this thickness of material. And providing I don't change the material, I can use that continuously to cut multiple cuts of this thickness, okay, without having additional wear, using up more battery life, etc., etc. So now that's
useful tip that, because it does, again, it will save you recharging. You won't need to recharge as often.
Exactly, yes. And also another good thing, and this is easy to do if you're not experienced, is sometimes you might be cutting close to maybe on a workbench, and there might be something quite close to the workbench, and you don't want to cut too deep through it and accidentally catch that, for example, because you might damage the blade or you might injure yourself. So always good to keep the machine set at the appropriate height when cutting your material. There's no need to cut any deeper. Okay. On the front of the machine, you see another little wing nut here, and you can open this, and now we can, let me just loosen that. Okay, and now we can do a bevel cut. So this goes up to 45 degrees. The depth of cut is reduced if you're doing a bevel cut, because as you can see from the front there, less of the blade is going down and protruding through the base plate here. But you still get quite a respectable depth of cut at 45 degrees of 15.9. 15.9, yeah, so nearly 16 millimeters. That's at maximum 40. It gets progressively more towards the maximum as you go closer to 0, as you can see there. Okay, so let's lock that down again. And lastly, you've got a few little accessories, which we'll show you in a minute. But there's the slots here at the front for your parallel guide. Yep. And we'll show you that in a minute.
We've got the hex key, or Allen key, built in the back of the machine there, so allow you to change the blade, so you don't have to worry about where that's gone to when it comes to actually changing the blade. We also have a port at the front here as well, which I believe I've got the attachment for somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, it might be in the next product.
Actually, it could be. I won't spoil it. It is in the next.
Yeah,
product.
exactly. So, plenty of nice little accessories there to make sure that you can cut more accurately and also try and keep dust down to a minimum. Because the last thing you want to do. Well, the last thing you want to do is do a bad cut, and the last thing you want to do is fill your house up with all this sawdust as well. So we've got an option here to try and keep that dust down to a nice, reasonable level. Yeah. Okay, right. So
we've got the parallel guide as well.
Yeah, I think that's also going to be in the next product that we're going to be looking at. So, circular saw, a little tiny circular saw running on 12-volt battery that gives you more than enough power and depth of cut to cut pretty much the majority of your sheet material. It's not just wood, because you've got that multi-material blade, so you can work with other things too. Maybe you're working in plastics. It'll be very interesting to see how well it works in soft metal, for example, but primarily this is designed for your wood and plastic applications.
Thin aluminium, I think it would probably be quite happy with. Anything tougher than that, you need to step up to a bigger machine.
Yes, but I'm not imagining that that's the kind of thing you're going to be doing on the regular. This would be really ideal for your light DIY tasks. You made a mention for kinds of applications. Maybe you'll be doing things like cutting battens down, cutting more bits of sheet down. Maybe you're doing a bit of cladding work or whatever.
I've used something similar to this, or saws of this size before, for laminate flooring.
Yes,
I'm not sure how popular laminate flooring is anymore.
No, I think I think cutting tongue and groove or laminate flooring is still more than suitable. I would probably want to do some quick tests to see how well it works on non-wood, composite materials as well, because that multi-material blade. So that's something that we will probably recommend having a good go at as well. So loads of really good tasks, and obviously a circular saw is often needed by a lot of people for lots of different things, so I'm sure you're going to find a lot of great projects to work with. However, there's something that I want to show you before you've made your decision, because maybe this is it. You finally decide, oh actually yes, I want to run a nice little 12-volt circular saw. However, there's one more thing I want to propose to you today. This is a question of whether or not, maybe, for example, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what do I want? What happens if I want something that is more of a complete solution, where you want a miter saw, okay, but you also maybe want a workstation, right?
What if I accurately want to do miter angles, say making picture frames or something like that?
That's right, yeah. I want it to be in a case, and also maybe I also don't want to necessarily have to have a track saw. So I want all these things combined. So you want something that's a miter saw that meets a workstation, right? That meets a carrier case and also meets your track saw needs.
Oh, you don't want much, do you?
You're asking for a lot, but don't worry. So the Blueprint by Dremel have got something sorted for you. I think you've got an example down there, Dan.
I do, yeah. I've buried it underneath my little...
So you might have thought, God, they're asking for a lot, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right, so what we've got here...
Super light as well.
Yep.
Super light. Remember which way up to put it. There you go.
I think
there we have it.
Let's present it this way for the camera, I think, just to start off with. Okay, so you can see here, nicely well branded. This is our portable saw station.
Yes.
Yes. It's a big bit of kit. Well, I say big bit of kit.
It does an awful lot considering its size, but yeah.
Yes, that's right. Size and weight, I should have, you're right, Dan, to point me out. I said big, but that's because it's got a lot in it, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look inside, because we've made some big claims there about what we've got here.
We have, yes, there's an awful lot in here.
Now on camera this is going to be fiddly to show, but we'll try our best. We might have to open it up and show you different things as we go along.
I think it's going to be a multi-hand job like the last one, but there you go. So we have a double hinge on here, allows both sides to sit completely flat on a material. We have feet already built into the case as part of that black moulding around the outside. Inside here we have Well, I've already talked about it.
Yeah, I've got a little Dremel saw.
Great saw.
I'll open up my side. So you'll see in a minute that obviously it is a carry case which contains lots of different things. So I'm going to open it up and start taking things out for later. We have these little bungs which hold in a number of accessories. So I'm going to place them to one side. First thing we've got is this little stand, and I'll tell you about what this material or this board support is for. I have also the parallel guide that we alluded to earlier for the saw, so it's contained in this package as well. I have these two material clamps. I think I'll just take one out for the time being. We have two, as you know. Let's take them both out. Okay, two little material clamps here to help hold the material when working on the saw station. And lastly, on my side, I also have this little dust extraction port that attaches to the saw. Yes. If I had a spare battery, I also have a little space here that fits it neatly. What's on your side, Dan?
So on my side, pop that up, quite straightforward. We've got an awful lot of stuff built into this side, but we'll do the base part first. If I pop this up here, again, little rubber bung, holds this piece in here. This is designed, well, actually there's two of them. These are designed to raise up the material whilst you cut, and that will become perfectly clear a little later. And if I open this out here, I have a full mechanism built into the lid here, which houses the saw.
All right, yeah, so as you can see here, now I can do the same with my side here. Push it down, make sure it's nicely locked. We have a nice few little features on here. Let me see if I can tilt it forward a little bit. Okay. I mean, something that might seem really unnecessary, but it's a nice little touch. It's this little bit here, a little bit where you can do a little sketch, a little whiteboard. So you can make your notation really useful if you've got some measurements, for example. You can jot them down here, so you won't forget them. I typically write them on my hand and then sweat it off.
It's not usually the greatest way of doing things.
Or write it on
sometimes convenient.
Usually I write it on the wood and then I cut that bit of wood off and I can't find my measurements anymore. But a nice little whiteboard here to help mark down what you want. You've got these little tracks down the sides. We'll show you what those are used for. Material clamps. And as Danny points out, this is really what makes the saw station a saw station. It's this little rail system, this little guide rail system here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So let's show you how you fit the saw to the machine.
So, saw, quite simply, there's a little slot in this side here, that drops in there, and it sits on top like that. So the base is locked in. Obviously you can adjust the depth of cut as you would with the, as we showed previously. Material sits across the front. Now you've got a sliding miter saw.
Yeah, it's important to point out. Again, it's very easy for us to feel the difference or how nice and smooth that feels. But really smooth action, so you're not going to be fighting with it. It's nice and straight, so you're going to be using this to do perfectly straight cuts or angled cuts. Because I'll pass the saw to you a moment. Then.
Yes.
I've got to tilt the saw station forward for a moment.
Might be a little easier on the overhead actually.
Oh, let's try the overhead. Yeah, let's see that. We've got the overhead camera. Okay. Okay, cool, thanks.
Back a little bit further. And
there we go, there we go.
There you go.
Right, okay, so you've basically got a miter gauge on the front here. Loosen the wing nut here. And on the front, it might be hard for you to see, but you've got little angles, and then you can simply move this to mark with this little red arrow. So if I wanted, say, 15 degrees, lock it down like that. And then place your material underneath.
Yep, material will sit up against that, and of course your saw cut straight through at 15 degrees.
That's right, yeah. So let me reset this back to 0, okay, and we'll talk about some of the other features before we do a little cut. So let's cut to the wide again, please. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other accessories we brought out. I talked about the board support here. So if you're working with large bits of material that are quite long and extend beyond the saw station, then you can simply place that on the outside here. Okay, it's the same height as the workstation, so you could have, let's have an example.
You can.
Thank you, I think that's okay. No, that's fine, that's okay there. Okay, and you can see how it will now sit on this little board support and then at the same height as the workstation. So really ideal, again, if you haven't got a big bench.
The longer the piece of material, the further away you can have the stand.
That's right, yeah. So the whole point of having this portable saw station is for those people out there that don't have a dedicated workstation. They might not have a dedicated workshop space. They might be using maybe your kitchen table, or maybe even
kitchen
your
worktop
kitchen
would be
worktop.
perfect, yeah. If you've got a long enough one, yeah.
I'm sure everyone's got a floor.
Yes.
So you always have enough room to cut even the longest material.
Yeah.
If you haven't got a floor, I'm sure somewhere you've got a garden.
Well, you've got a machine you could probably make it from.
Correct. Okay, so that's your board support. Danny, you want to make a mention about your material stop? Your bevel riser. This is an interesting one. Maybe we'll do a demonstration later to show how it works.
Yes, it's a good point, that. Right, bevel riser will sit underneath the material, allowing you to basically prevent you from cutting through the actual base of the actual saw station itself when you're doing a bevel cut.
That's right, yes.
If I set this up for a bevel cut now, just pop that straight in there, and using the wing nut at the front, I can tilt the machine over to give me a bevel cut. The profile inside here allows you to clear the majority of that. However, if you do have a larger or thicker piece of material, the material riser or the bevel riser is required.
That's right, yeah. I think you might have said that, sorry, I was looking at something else entirely there. If you've got quite thin material, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's sitting on the bottom, you need to rise it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
That's just what you said, yeah, of course. Okay, so yes, basically it's just like, you can use it in either single or double, depending on if you need to raise it higher than a single. When I talk about the material supports, now these simply slide into the slots here.
Little clamps, yeah.
Okay, and as you can see, you've got a little screw top here that helps pinch the material. That's obviously really great. We'll show you a quick demonstration why you'd want to use that to help prevent the material being pulled away from the fence here.
If you're cutting smaller materials, we've got slots closer to the actual cutting area and after the cutting area as well, so you can clamp down both sides of the material for that added extra security.
That's right, yeah. So you've got lots of different options here. I mean, what's probably not obvious to those watching online, we've also got nice little indents, markings on the actual stations here. You've got some measurements, okay? You've got, these look like they're in centimetre markings. And also you see you've got these grooves along the side here. Again, we'll tilt it up in a minute and show you, but it's also telling you to help the alignment. You've got 15, 22.5, and you've got 30 degrees, and even 45 degrees here.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how useful the actual measuring marks are on here. If you're repeatedly cutting materials, and you know it's got to be 15 centimetres, for instance, you can mark it up and then cut, mark the next bit up, then cut.
Let's see if I can see. Maybe if I point to the closer cam, maybe you'll see it, but it's black on black, so it's a little difficult.
You're gonna lose that.
So your measurements here, and then these lines here. If you're looking at it from my point of view, you see they've got the angle. So when you are lining up your wood with the actual mitre fence here, then you can make sure that they're extending at the correct angle as well.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So let me have a look at what we can talk about. The parallel guide. So if you do not want to use the portable saw station, or you've just purchased the machine on its own, then you've got the parallel guide here, for example. Let's loosen that off quickly.
Sorry, I've messed around with all of the settings.
I'll take the battery out again for safety, and I'll tighten that down. Okay, I'll loosen that one.
It's a different saw, we haven't set this one up.
That's right, yeah. And then you can simply pop that in there. So if you are working with that sheet material, you want to cut a certain amount off, you can set your parallel guide there. Okay, and then you can simply rip across the material, cut across the material, cross-cut the material to your desired length, or remove the material that you actually want.
Yeah. Do have a tip for using this as well, though. The shape that we have here, usually it's quite easy to fit this around both ways, really, but there is a leading edge here. So if you put that the other way round, on the other side, it glides quite nicely across the material. The other thing is, when you're using it, don't be afraid to pop your thumb against the side of the actual parallel guide when you're pushing it through the material, because if you're cutting natural wood or pine, the saw can then follow the grain, so you could end up sort of drifting off to an angle. However, if you hold this part here and you maintain the pressure against the side of the timber, then you'll get the straight line. Just a bit of a tip there.
Exactly. Something you don't actually have to worry too much about when you're using.
No, not at all. No, that takes care of that all for you.
You made a nice. We both made a comment about it. I think it's something probably we should discuss very briefly, which is talking about material loss or kerf.
Kerf, yes.
So on the blade itself, the blade itself will have a number of bits of information. I think I'll grab the one that's on the floor here. Okay. I might not be able to show this on camera, so I'll just read out what I've got on here, and you'll say it says 85. Okay.
It's the diameter of the blade.
Okay. Now you've got 1.5.
1.5 is the kerf measurement. So 1.5 millimeters of material will be lost when you do the cut. So obviously that's the width of the cutting teeth of the blade.
Yes, that's right. The last value you got, last couple of values you got here is you've got 1, and that's the thickness of the actual
The metal
blade.
behind the actual teeth, so the base blade thickness.
Let's try and make it easier for you. So I'm reading this number down here. And then the last value there is 15 millimeter, and that's the bore. That's the size of the hole in the middle that helps you mount the actual blade itself. So it's an important thing to note, because if you are cutting left or right of the material, depending on which side you want to keep, you might need to factor into how much wood or material you're removing. So the last thing you want to be is you want to be 1.5 millimeters shorter than you expected.
Yes, don't make all of it, sorry, don't mark your material up with all of the cuts first, because by the time you get to the end, you'll be missing 3 millimeters, 3.5 millimeters, 4 millimeters as you go, because you'll be losing that curve.
Right, so now Katie's been desperate to ask some questions. I think I've ignored her for long enough. So Katie, sorry about that. We got carried away as always. Did you have a few questions you wanted to ask?
Yes, I did have some questions from the audience. So the first question we have is, would I be able to use any of my other Dremel tools with the saw station? So I believe you're asking about the batteries, in which you can use your Dremel battery, which is also a 12-volt battery, with your saw station, as well as the multi-drill. As Dan and Chris walked through batteries earlier, the battery on the portable saw station is in fact the same as the other tools, so yes, they're interchangeable.
If you have one of the old Dremel batteries though, however, they were compatible or cross-compatible with our DIY range of 12-volt machines, so they won't fit these ones. Right. However, the new range of Dremel machines out have the same batteries as these, professional range ones.
Yeah, actually what we'll do is we'll show you in a minute with our new storage solution that one of those machines, that is the example of the machine, we'll show you exactly which ones is compatible with that battery platform.
Yes.
Any more questions, Katie?
We have a fun one from JP Woodwork. Hey, how you all doing? How you doing, guys?
Well, I'm actually doing quite well,
yes.
as always. I usually mention that I'm hungry, but I've had a late lunch, so I'm doing well, actually.
No, we're doing all right, yes, I think so. Yeah.
Mostly, I'm fueled,
well
I'm fueled by my excitement for basically the multi-drill and the saw station, because I am genuinely really passionate about these tools. I'm really surprised. I would really like to see a professional version of this for a different brand that I work for.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm going to have to make do with the Dremel saw station.
There's no making do. I think it's a cracking bit of kit.
That's right. So actually, do you know what? Let's do a little bit more of a deep dive. Let's do maybe a little demonstration to show some of the different functions.
I know you're itching to anyway.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely gagging to make some wood dust, or a lack of wood dust. We're going to run extraction, of course. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to pop that to one side for a second.
That's the one you want to use, though, or one of those batteries has got a little bit more charge.
Let's have a look. Well, again, we've got that charge indicator on the top, so I can quickly find out whether or not
that's the one.
That's the one I want to use. Okay. Okay. So we will let's set this machine up with the correct depth of cut, or roundabout. So I'll do that. Yeah, I think I can adjust that a little bit. Again, one of the things, we are working in a little studio, so it's always easy to. That'll do. Easier to work actually in your house rather than in a studio. We've got probably more room when doing this stuff at home. Okay, pop that in. Oh, there you go. Okay, battery's in now. Now, so what we could do is, there's a few little things that we want to put in together. We might use the material clamps. We also want to make sure that, so we don't produce too much dust in the studio, we're going to run our extraction. So I'll pass that to you to pop on. Maybe you can show that how that fits in. I'll make a bit of room on my side.
This is quite straightforward, just push fit into that port on the side of the actual machine. So that pushes in there nice and snug, and then we can pop the dust extractor we're going to use in this case, but you can use just a regular vacuum cleaner or anything that you've got at home. As long as it's going to collect the dust, that's it.
Okay, I've locked that just about 0 on the miter gauge. I'm just going to make sure that's all good. Okay, right, so I'm going to get an extractor for you. Give me 1 second.
There you go. So I'm going to use the clamps, so I'll put that through here, and we'll clamp the material down here. Quite quick and easy to do this. There we go, so that's clamped there.
So the dust extraction port is friction fit, so that should work with the majority of vacuum cleaner attachments. If you've got if you've got a dust extractor or vacuum that you use for your shop, it would most likely fit. You must make sure that you double check that it fits friction-wise. Obviously here we're using a Bosch Professional dust extractor to make our life a little easier.
Just tangling it around my legs though.
Yeah, just squeezes in and obviously make sure that we've got sufficient dust extraction. We don't want to produce too much dust. I have in my back pocket, I've got some hearing protection. The machine's not particularly loud, but the cutting application can be quite loud, especially indoors, for example. And I'm going to run just some safety glasses, just in case we get a little bit of, well, if we get some sawdust, for example, we don't want that going into my eyes midstream, for example.
I'm going to step back.
Maybe you can run the extractor for me, Dan. Now, my glasses. I could use the little laser there to show exactly where I'm going to be cutting. I won't bother tilting the camera up, but I can see very clearly exactly where my cut is going to be. Depress the safety trigger and then start the machine up. All I'm going to do now is push the machine through the material and make my cut. Now it's important to note that I've made what could be a rookie mistake, which is set the depth of height before placing it on the rail. But I think I've given myself just enough depth of cut. In fact, just to be sure, I'm just going to drop that down just a fraction to make sure that I cut through the material, because the actual thickness of the rail that it's sitting on will reduce the depth of cut.
It's about 2 millimeters in this case, so yeah, take that into account when you set up the depth of cut on this.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick cut. Can you start the extractor for me, Dan?
There you go. Easy as that.
Easy as that. Now, if I wanted to let's put it down to the maximum depth of cut and do another cut there. So if you're working in, say, for example, laminate material, you might want to do an initial scribe cut to take off that top material before doing your big depth of cut. The machine has more than enough power to do a full depth of cut.
Purpose of that is to cut the top layer to prevent splintering if you do a full depth.
So let's do another cut here just to complete it. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this bit of material and I'm just going to do one cut in one action, because just to prove that the machine has more than enough power to do the cut without having to do an initial scribe cut across the top. This is just again just a bit of pine. The machine is more than capable of working in much thicker material. Again, up to that maximum depth of cut of 24.5.
Yeah.
Okay, I might go a little quicker, but you don't want to go too quickly. You want to let the machine do the cutting. You don't want to put any undue pressure on the machine. So one more cut down. Let's put the job for me. So this would be ideal if you are wanting to obviously cut material down, or maybe you are wanting to produce sections of wood, for example. Now let's do one more cut just to prove the mitre. I don't know what angle we should adjust it to. I think maybe let's do 45, so it's right at me. Okay. I was technically using our little board support there. Probably wasn't necessary. The wood's not very hot, but it's stopping me from rubbing the wood against my laptop there. Oh, there you go. Let's do 30. It's easy. Let's do 30.
Okay, no, 45. It just drops into a detent on there, so you don't have to worry about looking for the actual point itself. Just drops in there. So there you go. Let me pop a clamp in on this side. You got the clamp for the other side?
I could put one here if I wanted to.
Put one just on there. Make sure that's up against the fence.
So the best thing about these clamps is the fact that, again, if you're not feeling very confident or you don't want to hold the material, I mean, you can easily just push the material up against the fence here, but the clamps mean it's nice and safe, nice and hands-off, so you don't have to be concerned about anything happening when you're cutting with the machine. It is very safe.
You're going to get a better quality of cut if the piece of wood doesn't move around at all. So you can lock this into position when you actually carry out the cut, so it's far more secure.
So last cut, let's just put the extractor back on and do one more cut at that 45-degree angle. Okay, so this would be ideal if you're wanting, say for example, maybe you want to make picture frames, for example.
Yes.
Okay, you can make your nice accurate angles, replicate that every single time the same, making
Yeah.
sure.
Perfect 45-degree
I've
angle.
done not a bad job. Okay, so a little comment about the different applications and the different materials. Obviously, you have 2 different blades that are available to purchase for this product. It comes with that multi-material blade. So again, ideal for wood, laminates, plastics, and even some non-ferrous metals, as we discussed earlier. If you want to work predominantly in wood, then you can also go for a Dremel CS, I think it's the 12V for wood blade. That's again ideal for wood and laminate, and is obviously dedicated for that. So you'll probably get quite a good amount of longevity if you go for a dedicated wood blade.
Both of them look fairly similar. They're both 20 tooth as well, so plenty of teeth on there, and that cutting speed gives you really good quality of cut as well. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so
nice and simple range.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we've described some case studies. I think I use the decoration. If you're doing things like picture frames, for example, you can make your own, of course. If you're doing things like flooring, we've made that comment already. So laminate, vinyl. Maybe you're doing baseboards,
skirting boards.
Yeah.
Door architraves and paneling, wood paneling.
That's right.
Anything
Yeah.
like that.
Or of course, maybe you're doing some creative tasks. Maybe you're making some nice little storage boxes that you like to then screw on the wall with the Dremel multi-tool, of course.
you
Then you can obviously do that as well by helping create all the little angles, making them all stick together at the correct angles. Each time you can set it, so you know you're going to get reliable bevels and miters that you're needing to put all these nice little creative tasks together. So I think we are pretty much done on this particular machine.
I think, yeah.
Obviously, all the bits that we took out will go back into the box. Now, shall we run the risk and try and do it?
I think so.
Let's try and do it. Okay, so I know I had my material stand on my side.
I think I've got away lightly here because I don't have so much stuff.
I mean, again, thank you. That's part of the process here, is the ability to, when you're finished, you don't want to have all this unnecessary storage requirement, having to find places to put all these bits. They'll all go back in nice and easy. All right, so
Usually
you can leave that as is. You can leave that as is, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. See.
I'll pop that in there like that. There you go. Oh, I've got those that go in here. It's really quite straightforward.
Tell you what, if you've got any level of OCD, this is very soothing.
It's actually quite pleasurable, isn't it? There you go.
Dust extraction port, please.
Oh, that's that.
Thank you.
Off of there.
Oh, it's like origami. Love it. And I even put the spare battery in there just for a laugh. Although, yep, and it won't fall out. Look. Yeah.
There you go. Line it all up. Clip it shut, and away you go.
Right, okay, on to
Straightforward.
the, oh yes, very nice, thanks Dan. So on to the last thing we would like to talk about, but before we get to it, just one last little question to Katie, whether or not we've had any other questions. I've seen quite a little bit of action going there, scrolling up there in the chat, or is everyone just chatting amongst themselves, Katie?
There's a lot of chat going on, but no questions at the moment. But if you do have any burning questions, please feel free to put them in the question section for us to answer.
Okay, right. So on to the last product before we round it up for today. I think that's not bad. I think we're going to do about an hour and a half total live stream today. So thank you very much for joining Danny, Katie and I.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Dremel storage solution. I've got a nice little triple stack here.
Yes.
Now this is actually something we call it, or it's available as part of our Platinum.
Platinum kits, yes.
Now normally you get 2, but I've got a third one here and I'll show you why in a minute. This is our new modular storage solution. Okay, so what we wanted to do is, you can see here, we wanted a system that is, when it's closed, is stackable, as you can see here. Very nice and easy to have multiple kits together. You can use them separately to store items, and they simply unclip from the top here. Oh, not the top one. The middle one here. Okay, and you can see, okay, you can have them individually. Okay, if I open up the top one, for example, you'll see by opening the clasp on the side and the little button on the front there to unlock it, to make sure that that's in focus. Okay, you can see I've got an example of the Dremel 8250. The machine that we said here has the same 12-volt battery that we're running on the new Dremel products that we're displaying today. Nice and orderly, and even you see here in this bottom section here, we've got a nice little place to put lots of accessories too. So if you have your favorite accessories, you can place them in here ready for use. Chargers, batteries, all neatly packaged together. Okay, let's show you an example of how you can use these boxes, these platinum kit boxes, to store your accessories. So let me.
So there you go. There's the next one.
Let me show you the close-up camera first. Maybe we'll use the overhead in a moment. Okay, so here you can see an example of how you can use this to store all your tool accessories, your system tool accessories, and your attachments. And you also get an additional, you get these extra dividers.
Yes.
You might say, oh, well, why do you need those? Okay. Well, in Danny's one, I've already pre-made my own custom kit with a few accessories, my regularly used accessories there.
There you go. So we have a fully partitioned off section here, allowing you to keep all your accessories nice and tidy and organised.
That's right. So, I mean, you can organise them however you see fit. Obviously, the default way. If I cut the overhead camera again for us, please, Ollie. There we go. Okay, you can see there. I might have to tilt it still because of the light. Nice and orderly, but sometimes you might want to have your own solution of setting up different accessories. It doesn't even need to be accessories. It could be other things that you put in here. I don't know. Sandwiches.
Could be sandwiches.
Fishing tackle. All kinds of things you could put in here. But for your Dremel needs, more than enough in your Platinum kit solution. I really like it because, again, see how you can easily close the boxes, and you can see again, what I really like is the catch system on the side here. So obviously they sit on top of each other nicely like that. They're both closed. But what you do is you actually open the bottom one, and you've got like a double hinge to bring it up and over to then clip onto the one below it. I think that's really smart.
Super simple.
Really simple.
Really smart.
Yeah, nice robust plastics. I don't recommend using these as steps, of course, but more than sturdy enough to survive chucking around your garden shed or your workstation or wherever you are working.
They are quite solidly constructed on the inside with cross ribs and that.
Yeah.
Again, not for standing on, but very tough and durable.
That's right, yeah. And they also have increased recyclability. So if and when they finally come to the end of life, they are even better for the planet. So you don't have to worry about adding to the refuge, so to speak. So helping to recycle our products when they finally need to be recycled and disposed of. Okay, so actually, I should point out, as you saw there, another really great feature of having these platinum kits is the fact that our accessories now in those kits no longer need to be wrapped up in plastic and other things like that as well.
Yeah. They're all just loose in there nicely, so you haven't got to worry about it.
Yeah, again, trying to keep the amount of wastage and the use of
single-use plastics.
Yes, that's right, single-use plastics to a minimum. Okay, so something we're trying to do our best here. Now, what is this replacing? It's improving and replacing the existing kits that we used to have. Dan's got an example behind us there.
And very good boxes they were as well.
That's right.
However, there were limitations when it comes to the ability to partition them off. So, worked out it's similar to a cantilever toolbox, but we had that one there. So dual layer there. So it's larger partitions. Maybe you keep your accessories on the top here, or your
but they'll slide around and they all get mixed up. Being able to box off all your accessories into their own little sections is something that I really appreciate, and I know that's something I will definitely be using in the future. Okay, so Katie, any questions?
Yes, so we do have one question on the chat at the moment, and that is, will these boxes be sold separately in the future?
Well, do you know the answer, Katie?
Yeah, so these boxes will be sold separately in the future and available to be purchased without any products or accessories in them, and you will be able to customise them yourself with any of our Dremel range.
I think we're going to have to get some of those in here.
That's right. So at the moment, my understanding is you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this one, Katie, but we're currently selling them with tools as part of the Platinum kits. They'll be with the Dremel 42. They'll be the Dremel 4250 and the 8240 and the 8250. And you obviously get the machine, which is typically be stored in the top box, and then you'll have all your system accessories and whatever accessory kits, as in your cutting discs and things and abrasives, they'll always be in the one below it, and they usually have a nice little, they'll still be using the same, let me grab it out of here.
Do you remember which box now?
No, it's all good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It'll always come in, you know, your little classic Dremel boxes here. But again, if you want to decant from here, and I don't know why you would, you can just use the sorting system if you like. But as Kate points out, I think these are really useful standalone, so I'll be looking forward to buying those when they come out separately. Okay, right. So, I mean, we've covered quite a lot today. I don't know whether or not we need to summarize it, or, well, I think I want to summarize it because I absolutely love this machine. So, first off, obviously, I really enjoy talking about the 3-in-1 Dremel multi-tool. Again, so this is a great tool if you are wanting to do both your screw driving applications or if you want to do drilling. With the integrated laser level and the stud finder, this is genuinely an all-in-one multi-tool for all those kinds of applications.
And with the multi-saw that we've got here as well, again, really we're a jack of all trades when it comes to cutting materials here. And then coupled with the actual station itself, the workstation, then you've got real good accuracy for multitude of different applications.
That's right, yes.
Multiple materials as well. So
yeah, so ideal again if you want to get into a little bit of DIY, if you want, you've got some projects that you're really inspired and you want to create, but you might not have a suitable place for it. Thanks to the portable saw station, that means you can convert any part of your house into like a little workshop, and you can get done, get working without any distractions. So before we round up, Katie, final questions from the chat maybe?
Yeah, so we do have a final question, which is the mini aluminium box stackable too, or is it normal box size?
The old system?
Yeah, although that is not stackable, so only with the new boxes that you will have the stackable feature.
That's
and
right.
honestly, it doesn't just stop with 3 boxes. You can.
We can.
You can
I mean, I
go
don't
on,
know.
really.
I don't know what the limit is.
I don't think there is.
There is no limit.
We have a weight limit, but
Yeah.
you're going to have to work really hard to exceed that. I think it's going to get exceptionally high before it becomes a problem to clip. Something maybe we can find out. We can pop in the chat if we can find the maximum weight allowance. But
Yeah, it's the crush weight for the bottom one. That's literally that's going to be the only limitation.
the actual clasps themselves that
Yeah.
hold them together.
Yeah.
They feel particularly well designed, very sturdy. So, yeah, I imagine that you could probably carry quite a lot. But obviously, designed for your Dremel tools, and I'll be really surprised if you're using them to carry Dremel tools, batteries, system tool accessories, and obviously the accessories themselves. You're going to have a big job trying to exceed that. Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions, Katie, or should we round it up for the day?
I think we should round up.
Okay, right. So, 3 new machines. Okay.
Yep.
New storage solutions. I hope you've enjoyed this particular Dremel live stream showing that new.
Well, it's full range, the entire blueprint range.
Yeah, the entire blueprint by Dremel. Okay, so I guess what we could ask next is, what would you like us to talk about on the next Dremel live stream? Feel free to pop your comments below after this live stream ends, or if you're not watching this live, feel free in the comment section to leave any comments you'd like, particularly what topic you would like Danny and I to cover next.
And if you're upset about missing it, don't forget to like and subscribe, obviously. Then you will hear about the next one when it comes along.
Yeah, so see you then.
See you then.